Hello. Welcome to this week's Private Funds Update. I'm Sandra from SmartEsq. Here's what I learned this week. We begin in Washington, where the SEC Chair Paul Atkins appeared before Congress last week with a message that is music to the ears of the private markets. Capital formation is back. Chair Atkins' testimony outlined a regulatory agenda focused on reducing barriers for private funds and modernizing the definition of accredited investors. Crucially, the chair addressed the digital asset elephant in the room, promising a framework that treats crypto as a legitimate asset class, rather than a perpetual enforcement target. For GPs, the takeaway is clear. The regulatory headwinds of the last few years are shifting to tailwinds. The agency is signaling that its primary goal for 2026 is to facilitate the flow of capital, not just police it. Next, a massive operational win for placement agents and broker-dealers. On February 11th, FINRA proposed a long-awaited amendment to Rule 2210, finally aligning its standards with the SEC's marketing rule. For years, the industry faced a regulatory mismatch. Registered investment advisors could use projected performance and targeted returns in their decks, but broker-dealers were strictly banned from doing so. This forced placement agents to redact target IRR slides that the GP could legally show. The new proposal explicitly permits FINRA member firms to use projected performance and targeted returns. However, there are strict guardrails. This relief applies only to communications with institutional investors and qualified purchasers. Retail investors are still off limits. Furthermore, firms must demonstrate a reasonable basis for their projections. This effectively solves the two-deck problem, allowing placement agents to market funds with the same forward-looking data that GPs use themselves. Turning to cross-border capital, the Treasury Department is looking to unclog the CFIUS bottleneck. The Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States has issued a request for public comment on a new known investor program. Think of this as TSA PreCheck for sovereign wealth funds and large foreign pensions. The proposal would allow repeat foreign investors with a clean track record to undergo a streamlined review process. Instead of a months-long national security audit for every deal, known investors would face reduced scrutiny. For U.S. sponsors raising capital from Canada, Europe, or allied Asian nations, this promises to significantly shorten the timeline from signing to closing. Finally, a landmark ruling in the ESG culture wars. A federal court has struck down Texas's controversial anti-ESG investment law, widely known as the Anti-Boycott Statute. The law, which penalized financial institutions for boycotting fossil fuel companies, was ruled unconstitutional on First Amendment grounds. The court found that the state cannot compel speech or association based on political viewpoints. This is a major victory for fund managers who have been caught in the crossfire between fiduciary duties and state politics. It suggests that the fragmented patchwork of red state investment bans may be crumbling under constitutional scrutiny. That's it for this week. You can learn more about these topics from me on the SmartEsq platform. If you are curious about the services we offer, please visit www.smartesq.ai.